So, Kristin, why don't you just give us a quick TLDR intro on who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Kristen. I've worked in IT for, God, I don't know, like over 15 years now. I've been, kind of on the wagon, off the wagon again many times, especially over, I would say, probably like the last 11 years more specifically. It was really once I met my husband when I was finishing up college that I kind of, because he was very, into fitness and things like that. So that was kind of a way to kind of step into that world. But just, I'd have periods of being really good for like several months in a row, but then either I got sick or work or life stuff would get in the way, and then I'd fall off, and then it would take, anywhere from 3 to 6 months, maybe even more, to kind of get back on the wagon. And it was kind of just like an endless cycle of good for maybe like 3-ish months, and then, for whatever reason, fall off, and just kind of always like that. And I would say like the most successful I ever was after I got engaged, because the wedding was like a huge motivator to look good for your wedding day and stuff like that. So that was about a year of, I would say, being pretty consistent, but it's kind of a while ago now, so I don't remember exactly if I had any kind of times where I kind of fell off during that time frame. But I'd say generally I was pretty good for most of the time. But again, after the wedding, I had a job that was the most stressful job I've had in my life. It was really bad, and exercising fell off, and actually I just wasn't eating because I was so stressed. So I lost weight, but not in a good way. And then, so kind of got around, that pattern just really continued. And then my husband and I moved into our current house in November 22, which had a basement. So we were like, we can finally invest in having a home gym, and we got like a Rogue squat rack and all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
And I was kind of, I'd always been like reading like subreddits about fitness and following influencers and things like that. And so I was doing just like 5x5 strong lifts, but felt like my upper body especially was plateauing. But I think at the time, I know my diet definitely wasn't there. I was making better decisions than I normally would, but it still was definitely not. I was definitely doing like I only need to eat 1,200 calories because if I eat more than that, I'm going to gain weight. Because, I think that's what a lot of people shove at you on, social media. And it's really hard to, when you've never like maybe achieved the physique you want at any point in your life, to know what is accurate information and what is someone just trying to sell you something to gain more Instagram followers or more money. So, I was kind of just getting to this point where I was, and I think a lot of it was also people were like, oh, I did this results in like 2 months. And
Yeah.
I would go for 2 months and then say, well, I haven't, like, nothing's changed, but I wasn't eating enough for sure. I don't think I was definitely eating like enough protein, and I think my workouts were just like maybe not structured enough, even if I was kind of following some sort of program. And so, I think I was just, browsing social media, and I got one of your ads in my algorithm. So thanks, algorithm, for actually doing something good for once.
Yeah.
And
Shows it's working.
and so I was like, oh, someone who's like, similar to me in like terms of like into D&D and like more nerdy things, because a lot of times influencers are just like skinny buff bunnies, or maybe not even buff, just like I've never like kind of been like the stereotypical like girly girls, so like those kind of girls always just kind of felt very alien to me. Nothing against them, but I was just like,
Right.
I can't relate to this person, so it was very hard for me to like connect. But I saw your ad, and then I followed, and then maybe like a week passed, and I kind of just was like, whatever. But then I think I either got like, I saw one of your stories or something, and I think it was like a podcast or something of that nature. And so I started looking at your page more, and I think I remember you had some posts where people specifically had like, you quoted people who had made progress or things like that. And I think I was at the point where I had been, again, January, I really was pretty good. And then it kind of was around maybe like March or April. Again, that stuff at work was getting kind of stressful. I became a manager and then basically immediately had to fire someone. So that sucked. And so that was a bit stressful. And then I I think I had just finally kind of hit my limit and been like, you know what, I'm making enough money that I can afford this, and it's also an investment in my health and my life. So let me just try it. And that's when, I contacted you, and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that beginning part where you're going through that perpetual start-stop cycle, that's obviously a
Yeah.
very common story, like you've experienced. You said roughly 11 years, to where January 1st, going to go hard, go for about a week or two, and then you fall off hard, and then you're like, all right, I'll just start Monday. I'll start next Monday. Oh, we'll start next Monday. And then it's like January 1st again,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with, is just that perfectionist mindset overall.
Yeah.
And I know that was something that you and I kind of talked about early on. Not that you really struggled with it. You did a pretty good job with it. But it's also something that's, and it was kind of more so along the lines of nutrition, right? Where we said, hey, you can indulge a little bit if you want, and, stay within your calories, or maybe have a little bit of a higher day on the weekend. And that type of mindset is where a lot of people struggle with. And so that kind of leads me into, well, let me backtrack a little bit. You said you did a little bit of due diligence, and you decided, it's like, all right, let's kind of take the plunge here. What was that deciding factor? Was it just simply seeing a few screenshots of texts and testimonials? Was it more so the content? What kind of spoke to you that said, all right, I'll take that plunge?
I think it was a combination of feeling like I could, have that connection with you, because we both have that kind of like similar interests and things like that. So it immediately kind of broke that kind of wall or barrier, I guess you could say, where I was like, this is someone who I feel like, and seeing your history as well, because it's also hard when you see someone who has never maybe been out of shape or overweight at any point in their life. And I'm like, well, do they really know how it's been, what it's, so it kind of immediately said, like, this is someone who has been there and has had the success and gone from, maybe not their ideal body shape or weight, and then achieved that, and then also has helped other people achieve that. And yeah, just like the combination of just immediately feeling like I could relate, that you could relate to struggles that I had, and then also seeing that other people have had success with you, definitely was pretty much like the main primary, factor in me reaching out.
Cool. That shows that my content is working.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously try to be transparent to an extent with my overall journey, because I want to set myself apart. Just like you said, there's a lot of people that just have always been in shape, and they're like, if you want to look like me, you got to do what I do type of situation. And if you don't, you just don't want it enough. You're just not disciplined, blah, blah, blah. And so I really kind of want to set myself apart to say, look, I understand those struggles. I've been on that path multiple times.
Yeah.
And this is what we can do together to kind of work ourselves out of it. And having that transparency, like you've expressed, kind of helps people feel heard more than just, shirtless workout videos, which I don't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about kind of along the story. You took the plunge. We've been working together 5 months now, I think. And so
yeah, I think so.
Let's talk about some gains. What were some more prominent wins that you've experienced in these last 5 months? I know I have some, but I kind of want to hear from you first.
I mean, I would say one of the biggest ones is definitely just like an overall mental mind shift in a lot of things. So I think kind of what I spoke to earlier is I would go for a couple of weeks or maybe 2 months and then be like, well, I don't think this is working. Other people lose so much weight. Obviously it's not working. And it's like, why bother? And I was definitely very much like, it's all or nothing. And if you don't do it right, completely 100%, then there's no point. But, through your coaching and, you kind of being that rock to say, just stay the course. This is going to work. And I don't think I've even necessarily had those feelings since we started. It's been me just going I just need to trust the process, and and he knows what he's doing, and I'm just going to do what he says. So that's been a huge shift in just that alone, is having those thoughts of, it's okay. When I go on vacation, I can indulge a little bit and it's not going to ruin all the progress I made. Right. Just having one relaxed meal isn't going to undo everything I've done. It's one meal out of, and learning that it's all about consistency over perfection, and that and it's, you've always said it's about keeping the momentum going, has been a lot to help me with that mindset of like, oh, it's all or nothing. Even when I've gone on like vacations to conventions and things, I've still been in that mindset of like, I can have a treat, or, maybe eat a little bit more or indulge in something, but I'll find that I'm actually actively, I'm not even avoiding things. I'm just like, you know what? That's not going to be as good for me as this thing that's equally as tasty. It just isn't, maybe like a pastry or something. So that's been one of the big wins for me, is just that mindset change, because I think getting that squared away is really going to set me up for success and make things easier in the long run. But then, of course, I've made a lot of strength gains. My squat and deadlift are, my deadlift is slightly more than my body weight now, so I can deadlift my own body weight, which is awesome, I've never been that close before. And then my squat and all of my other like big compound lifts are more than I've ever had in the past. And there have been days where I've been like, I don't know if I can do this bench press amount or this overhead press amount, and then I do like a set of it, and I'm like, okay, I think next week I can actually do that for my next working set. So lots of strength gains, and then kind of separating the obsession over the scale. Like initially when we met, I was like, I would like to lose weight, but my focus is more on just getting healthier and stronger. But being able to shift to just treating the scale number as a data point instead of like the be all end all of success. Like after I went to Dragon Con, I came back and, I weigh myself every day, and I think my weight went up like 5 pounds or something like that. And I was just like, it's fine. You know what? That's a number. And then within like a couple days, it shot right back down to where I was before I went. So knowing to like look at the scale number and look at the graph of overall trajectory instead of the day-to-day like noise and things like that has been a huge help too. And then I've gone down in like a pant size or two, so that's been awesome too. So lots of wins.
Yeah, you're pretty much messaging me at least once a week saying this sweatshirt's now loose, these pants are now loose, I have to, I'm down a belt notch or something like that, and on top of the strength gains. So although weight loss is kind of like the secondary goal, the weight on the scale, we're seeing that progress, albeit it might be a little bit slower since we're focusing on strength. We're still able to accomplish both and hitting PRs on the big four lifts, but all lifts all around, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. One thing that we worked on was creating a quote-unquote survival guide or survival kit for conventions, specifically Dragon Con. And so can you kind of give a quick breakdown on what you did to allow you to indulge, because you just briefly touched on it, without going completely off the rails? And then, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think one thing that's always been something that I've really appreciated that you've talked about is kind of like, using treating your calories as like a bank. So, and I think during Dragon Con, you were like, you can even go like, I think it was like maybe 20% more extra calories. So instead of like the 1,500, I was like closer around like 1,800 was more like the max, I guess. And so treating, my calories as more of like a budget. So knowing, okay, maybe in the morning, if I know that we're going to go to maybe this cool restaurant for dinner later, I'll kind of, focus on having like snacks like that are really heavy in like protein and stuff like that. But also like thanks to you and like kind of more of the mindset shift that I've had, we spent a lot of kind of like planning time in advance, thinking of the food options that we have for us, packing a bunch of like protein bars and things like that to take on the trip. And then, when we were there, buying protein shakes, because obviously traveling with those would be awful on the plane, take up like 90% of my luggage weight. Yeah. It was just a lot of kind of like thinking ahead in advance and setting myself up for success. And it's helpful that, my husband is also very much in the same kind of like mindset where we're both working on like strength gains and stuff. So we're both in it together, and instead of maybe one person kind of not being on the same boat. So it was just a lot of kind of like thinking ahead, planning ahead, and then just trying to, wherever we ate, looking at the menu and, making the decision like, I can add chicken to this, or, I think this is going to be like this salad has maybe some like dressing, get it on the side, just, kind of just not saying I couldn't have anything. Like, we had Gus's world famous fried chicken when we were in Atlanta, and it's amazing. If you're ever there, it's so good. But yeah, it's like I had fried chicken, and I still came back from the con, and a couple days later was right back where I started as far as weight goes. So just a lot of kind of like planning ahead, but not being like obsessive over it. It was just more like, let's think ahead so that we don't have to worry about this while we're here, and it's going to be one less thing we even have to like stress about, and we can plan ahead, and especially because it gets crazy down there. So it's good to plan ahead and know where you're going to eat in advance. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, so obviously you did the what I call the survival kit, where you had the protein bars, protein shakes, and stuff like that. And then I also think when we spoke about it right after that time, you were talking about how prior you might have wanted to try food from the con like every meal, and instead you kind of saved it for like dinner. And so one thing I like to say is in events like this, pass on what you like in order to get what you love, right? And it was for you, Gus's fried chicken. And so doing that, and then also in situations where you go out to eat, and I know we talked about this, but cutting your entree in half, taking half of it home, and then eating half of it. Those are like quick and easy ways to indulge while also essentially cutting your calories in half, and having a second meal later. And so
I mean, it was also monetary. It was beneficial financially, because we would get like the huge like turkey sandwich from like Firehouse Subs or whatever, and it would save us money because we would just get the big one and split it in half. But then also it would save me time, because we'd have that for lunch, and then we would just have the rest of it for dinner, so we didn't have to go wait in line or anything like that. And I'm like the psychopath that can eat the same exact food every single day for multiple meals. So it's just like, hey, if it was good at lunch, it's going to be good at dinner. So I'm good, and it has protein. I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the type of meal prep that I like.
Yeah.
Nice. There's a meme of somebody meal prepping, and it's like them taking a pizza and putting a slice in a Ziploc bag. And I'm like, that's my type of meal prep.
Oh yeah, that's been another big thing, is like some of like the accounts we follow that are like fitness related do have some useful information as far as like, because we do pretty much all of our shopping at Costco, and so they're like, hey, these like, it's like 10 things of like a serving, or it's like 100 grams I think or something of just like pre-cooked chicken, and when we meal prep, we make rice, we have frozen broccoli, and we put it on the scale, we put the rice in there, and then we dump the chicken, and we dump the frozen broccoli, and then it goes in the fridge. And that's lunch for the entire week, every day for both of us. It's like just getting rid of a lot of like the work around it. Really, for us, we don't have kids or anything, so we have nothing but time. But like the meal prep days in the past were miserable. We hated it. Like sitting there cooking chicken for like several hours, and then it's dry, and by the second day you're already over it. But we've found these like quick meals, or pre-cooked things, that dinner is usually different every night. We might have like the same thing 2 days in a row, and then the next day we have something else the next 2 days in a row. So like lunch, we don't mind it that there's not a lot of variety, but we add like sauce or something to make it more exciting. But just having really simplified meal prep has been a huge game changer too.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me, is because I'm the same way. I don't want to spend half of my Sunday boiling chicken and all that.
Yeah.
And so I would rather spend 20 minutes each night or every other night cooking a different meal by taking, one protein, one veggie, and one grain, and kind of turning that into a meal based, like you said, season it, sauce it, however you want. And that can really change it up, so that way you're not eating scabby, dry chicken and soggy broccoli by the end of the week. Cool. Yeah. And I know we talked about strength gains. I do want to say, I know you said in the beginning that you felt like your upper body was maybe on the weaker side, which is very common. And since we are doing 2 upper body days, 2 lower body days, I think you said your upper body was kind of progressing a little bit faster, but now you're hitting some significant weight. Because our big 4 lifts are our bench, squat, deadlift, and then barbell overhead press. And your overhead press, we just talked last week. You were like, holy crap, I had to actually check to make sure the weight was right, that my 4:30 in the morning brain didn't miss math.
Yeah, no. Small math too hard that early.
Yeah, yep, yep. No, but no, you've been crushing it. You've been seeing great results, both like obviously the strength side of things and the body recomp side of things, and then progressing on the weight loss. And then sounds like a big overall change was just the chipping away at that perfectionist mindset and figuring out ways to kind of have the best of both worlds, which is really what you want, so that way you can have sustainable results and not that 12-week mom turn and burn boot camp, which is kind of something that you alluded to earlier on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, maybe for some people that works, but it's like if you're, it's like I saw like the interview of like it's like a little old lady, someone broke into her house and she just like beat the crap out of them basically. I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be the little old lady that someone wants to mess with me, and then I just yeet them out of, existence or something like that. It's like I want to be able to get up on my own and, have that health and, have the muscle mass, and not just to be like a muscle mommy, but just to, for health, longevity, forever. Because I see, my parents and things like that, and, their health just isn't like amazing. And I want to make sure that, it's not just now, it's for forever. You only get one body, so you might as well take good care of it while you can.
Yeah, and especially when our bodies are meant to move. We're meant to be hunter-gatherers, farmers, and that type of stuff. And so that can kind of improve longevity by just constantly staying moving. Working desk IT job, you don't exactly have that luxury. And so you have to supplement that elsewhere, which is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
And so I would rather work out for an hour than work on a farm all day. And so... And so, yeah, you're right. You want to stay active, stay moving, looking for longevity as that long-term goal, rather than which the 12-week like boot camp style workout programs, they're really good for before and after testimonials, because you blast through them doing something that's not really sustainable for 6 to 12 weeks, get it before and after, push them out the door, and bring in new people. And then the people at the end of the 12 weeks are like, okay, now what do I do? Because I can't just keep working out 6 days a week,
Yeah.
Yeah. So chasing sustainability here. One last question, I guess. I know we talked about your whole kind of journey and how you got here, and then your all your progress and everything, and your experience. So what would you say to somebody who is maybe at the beginning of this journey, to where they're seeing all these different influencers on Instagram, and maybe they saw my ad and they're kind of starting that initial journey of becoming aware that I exist? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I think a lot of it is definitely finding someone, like I said, that you can kind of either relate to, or, they feel like, maybe they've read all sorts of things and they follow a bunch of influencers. I just think it's really important to find someone that you kind of feel like you could have a connection with, or you feel like someone would be able to understand where you're coming from. And then, just kind of, think of it, obviously it's, it's an extra expense, but I think it's like, I see the quote a lot. It's, if you don't make time for your health now, you're going to be forced to make time for your illness in the future. Yeah. So I think, investing in yourself, both monetarily, of course, it's not like it's like, doesn't cost anything. You have to, survive and put food on your table too. But, it's an investment in yourself and your health and your future. And I mean, just not even just like the aesthetics thing like that. There's just been so many other benefits that, having someone help me be consistent. Because I know for me, having that kind of like accountability is, a good part of it. Because there might be a time, I mean, and since we started in mid-July, I have not missed one of my like weightlifting workouts at all.
Right.
Like it's been 4 days a week, every week since then. And I don't think I've ever been that consistent with my diet and exercise in my lifetime. I don't think I ever have. And it hasn't been like an obsessive thing. It's just been, well, I don't want Jordan to say, hey, you missed your workout today. Like I have missed some of the active recovery day ones, but I do like at least move that day. So I'm like, it's okay. But, having that outward accountability is really helpful because, my husband has always in the past, and we talked about this a long time ago, I think, he's been like, are you sure you don't want to work out today? Or are you sure you want to eat that, very unhealthy thing you're looking at when I know you're going to feel bad about it in an hour? And then, of course, it's like, leave me alone. Shut up, So And then they're like, okay. And then, he doesn't maybe want to get snapped at. So then he kind of pushes off and like, is like, I'm going to let you do your thing. Because our loved ones always want what's best for us. But sometimes they can't be that accountability for us because they care and they don't want to like hurt our feelings and stuff. So I think, maybe not everyone needs that, but I know for me personally, having that accountability has been really helpful. And I think, just kind of dedicating yourself to however many months you want to do, like just let Jordan prove that you can do it, because for me, I thought I was never going to be able to do it. I was like, it's just going to be like this for the rest of my life. And, what's even the point anymore? But through working with you, it's proven that like, once you kind of are given the tools, like, and you put in the work, because, I'm doing the work, but you're also doing the work to help me succeed. So it's kind of just like, when you have like teachers in school, you're having to put in the work, but they're also doing the work to teach you and help you succeed and all those sorts of things. So I think, especially if you were like me and you've been, up and down on this roller coaster of trying to achieve whatever your goals are, it's worth taking the plunge and, investing in it because, it's been life-changing for me, honestly. Like, I just complete 180 from where I was before, just in terms of, making decisions about nutrition and other things. I went to a retirement thing for my brother-in-law a couple weeks ago and there was cake and I was like, I'm good. And it wasn't even I can't have it. It was like, I just don't want it. And it's not to say I never the other day at work I got a pastry. There's a really awesome bakery under my office and I smell it when I go up in the elevator. And I was like, you know what? The last week and a half have been kind of rough. I'm going to treat myself to a pastry. And it wasn't the end of the world. And I did the rest of my day. I was a little over calories, but still within my even 1800, and everything was fine. I didn't balloon up. I didn't lose my strength gains. It's just a little blip on the radar in months of progress and stuff like that. So, I think it's definitely, something that if you've been like me, just do it. It's going to be so worth it.
Well, perfect. No, I think that's a perfect way to end it. Yeah, I appreciate you hopping on. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think you want to talk about?
I guess one other benefit or win that I've had is we kind of talked about initially what some of my goals were, and since we like to do cosplay and things like that at conventions, I had talked about at Dragon Con they have Thursdays the bunny hutch where everyone has basically Playboy bunny themed bunny suits themed off any kind of pop culture thing you can imagine, even the most random obscure thing. It's out there. And that was something that I was I will never do that because I would never be comfortable doing that. But actually and as I've even worked on other cosplays, I follow sewing patterns and I'm okay, these are my sizes. And then I've made mock-ups and I'm oh, I need to do the smaller one. This is actually big on me, or I need to take things in or whatever. So that's of course, more of a physical thing that's been a win, but just and then I did a mock-up of one of those bunny suits. I was why not? I feel like sewing. I'll just try it. And I was wow, I actually feel comfortable and I would actually be able to wear this at a convention around people. So, just not even just that, but also just in general, I feel a lot more confident day to day, even if I have days where I'm oh, I don't like how this looks or something. Just in general, my overall self-confidence has really improved a lot. And it was funny because I was at a tattoo convention, and my husband was getting tattooed, and I was just walking around by myself. And one of my friends was oh, watch out for guys talking to you. And I was that literally never happens to me, ever. And it genuinely doesn't. I always thought I just had resting bitch face really bad. And so people were I'm just not going to talk to you. But then someone literally not even 5 minutes after I had said that, asked me if I have a boyfriend. And I was just oh, wow, that's cool. That didn't happen before. And I'm sure it's a mix of, physically improving, but also I think people can probably tell, feel the confidence because they say, people can maybe go or attracted to people who have more confidence. So I was, I think people can see that I feel less like kind of like hiding and things like that.
Yeah.
Although now I'm like, I don't want to be perceived, so now I'm just gonna wear baggy stuff, which
Right.
is that meme I see online where it's like when girls start getting ripped, they put more clothes on. So
Yep.
I feel like I'm gonna be the same, but just overall confidence in general has been a huge improvement too, which has been really nice because I've always felt pretty not super confident in general, like even outside of like physical appearance and stuff like that. So that's been really nice too.
Sure. No, absolutely. And it sounds like next year we're going to be doing some stuff for the Bunny Hutch.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Cool. No, I know my elevator pitch or my tagline is gain the confidence to become the main character of your own life. And it's more
Yeah.
than just kind of like a tagline. Like you notice that improving your physical strength, improving your consistency, which is like you proving to yourself that you can do this, all helps boost that overall confidence. And as you're noticing,
Yeah.
that kind of bleeds into really every other aspect of your life, from the way you hold yourself, you hold your shoulders when you're walking, to the clothes you're going to be wearing, to the events that you're going to be doing, and stuff like that. And so not only does it help, obviously, like the physical side of things with like your weight loss or muscle gain, strength gain, but it also helps maybe get that promotion at work, which I know wasn't something that you and I talked about, but it's like that type of confidence really bleeds into every aspect of life. Or maybe, hey, this will be the first time that you want to be a DM because you've always been a player and you really want to DM. And if you're like me, all your other players don't actually want to DM, and so you're the forever DM. And so it's like things like that improving your physical health can really have a bleed effect into every other aspect of your life. And I think that's a good
Yeah,
testament.
it really does. Another kind of aspect that I feel like it's improved is just like chores and stuff like that around the house. Like in the past, I'd be like, oh, I don't feel like getting up and doing that. But like I found that over time, I've just been like, no, I'm gonna get up and like clean that, or it's been like I've been setting like a more like regimented like cleaning schedule and been sticking to it. So it's kind of like, these are my workout days, and now I also have like this cleaning schedule that I follow. It's bled into things like that too, where it's helped me be more consistent in other aspects of my life too. Whereas, in the past I might have just been like, I'll do that at some point. I just want to sit and rot on the couch, which I definitely still do. But it's definitely bled into that aspect of life too, and just kind of being more like on top of, the adulting kind of stuff, but it just really all around. There's so many other benefits to learning that consistency and, showing up for yourself that just bleed into so many other aspects of life. And it really is just a whole, it's not just the physical like strength or weight loss. It's so many more things. And it's been such a benefit to just every aspect of my life really in general.
Yeah, no. And I love hearing that. And that's obviously what we do. And so I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good time to end it. Good place to end it.
Okay. Perfect.
Do you want to ask one more question? If you were to create a real life character sheet for yourself, what class would you be?
I don't know, maybe barbarian, because I want to be swole like that.
Okay.
I actually do. I'm a barbarian in my current campaign that I'm playing in. So yeah, I think it'd still be barbarian, or maybe druid. I played WoW, a druid in WoW for way too many years, so I still have a soft spot for druids in general. But yeah, probably barbarian.
Okay. All right. I like it. Well, cool.